The story of Rome's conquest of Greece begins with the rise of Rome as a powerful city-state in the Italian peninsula. Rome, initially a small settlement on the banks of the Tiber River, developed into a republic characterized by a complex political system, a disciplined military, and a strategic approach to expansion. Its early leaders, known as consuls and senators, balanced power between aristocracy and popular assemblies, creating a governance model that enabled both stability and flexibility in times of war. This political structure allowed Rome to mobilize resources efficiently, maintain citizen loyalty, and organize military campaigns against neighboring territories. Rome's early interactions with the Greek world were influenced by trade, cultural exchange, and the expansion of colonies. Greek city-states such as Cumae, Massalia, and others along the southern Italian coast had long established colonies that facilitated trade, brought Hellenistic culture into Italy, and introduced the Romans to Greek art, philosophy, religion, and military techniques. Romans admired Greek culture, incorporating elements of philosophy, religion, architecture, and governance into their own society. Temples, theaters, and educational institutions in Rome reflected the Hellenistic influence, and Greek language and literature were studied by elites seeking knowledge and refinement. These interactions laid the foundation for both admiration and rivalry, as Rome learned from Greek culture while gradually building the military and political strength necessary to dominate it. Military encounters were crucial in establishing Rome's influence in regions previously dominated by Greek city-states. The Romans, known for their disciplined legions, advanced engineering skills, and tactical innovation, began to confront Greek forces in southern Italy and Sicily. Conflicts such as the Pyrrhic War 282 to 75 BCE demonstrated Rome's resilience against the Greek king Pyrrhus of Epirus, whose victories came at such high cost that they ultimately weakened his position. Rome's ability to absorb losses, adapt strategies, and maintain cohesion in the face of superior forces highlighted its emerging military prowess. These early campaigns in southern Italy allowed Rome to gain control over key territories, secure strategic ports, and prepare for future confrontations with the wider Greek world. Cultural exchange also played a role in shaping Rome's approach to Greece. While the Romans adopted Greek art, architecture, religion, and philosophy, they remained politically and militarily pragmatic. Greek influence enhanced Roman society's sophistication, but Rome maintained a strong sense of identity and autonomy, allowing it to gradually assert dominance without losing its organizational and martial edge. Education, rhetoric, and governance borrowed heavily from Greek models, but Roman pragmatism ensured that admiration did not translate into subservience. Roman leaders studied Greek history and strategy, applying lessons learned to their own campaigns, and gradually developed an understanding of Greek political dynamics, alliances, and rivalries. Diplomatic relations also facilitated Rome's expansion into Greek territories. Rome often positioned itself as a protector or mediator in Greek conflicts, offering alliances and military support while gradually extending its influence. Treaties, tributes, and military garrisons allowed Rome to establish footholds without immediate large-scale warfare. Over time, these footholds became the foundation for full-scale conquest, as local city-states either succumbed to Roman authority or aligned with Roman interests to secure protection against rival states. The interplay of diplomacy, military strength, and strategic alliances created a multifaceted approach that proved highly effective in subduing Greek resistance. The political fragmentation of Greece played a crucial role in Rome's eventual success. Unlike Rome's relatively unified and disciplined political system, Greece consisted of multiple city-states, leagues, and kingdoms, often divided by internal rivalries and shifting alliances. Macedonia, Athens, Sparta, and other prominent powers frequently engaged in conflict, weakening their collective ability to resist external forces. Rome exploited these divisions, allying with certain factions while undermining others, gradually gaining control over strategic regions and establishing dominance. The Macedonian Wars 2141-48 BCE illustrate this dynamic, as Rome systematically defeated Macedonian kings and brought Greek territories under Roman influence, culminating in the incorporation of Greece into the Roman Republic. Infrastructure and cultural integration further consolidated Roman influence in Greece. Romans invested in roads, ports, and cities, linking Greek regions with Roman territories and facilitating movement of troops, goods, and information. Greek elites often collaborated with Roman authorities, ensuring continuity of local governance while acknowledging Roman supremacy. Cities like Corinth became centers of commerce, administration, and cultural exchange, blending Greek traditions with Roman organization. This integration helped secure Roman control, reduce resistance, and create a stable framework for governance, setting the stage for centuries of Roman rule. In essence, the rise of Rome and early interactions with Greece combined military strategy, diplomacy, cultural exchange, and exploitation of internal divisions to pave the way for eventual conquest. Rome's disciplined legions, pragmatic leadership, and ability to adapt lessons from Greek culture allowed it to move from admiration and engagement to dominance and governance. The foundations laid in these early interactions, strategic alliances, military campaigns, cultural integration, and infrastructural development would ultimately culminate in the full incorporation of Greece into the Roman sphere of influence, transforming both civilizations in profound and lasting ways. The Macedonian Wars marked a pivotal period in Rome's conquest of Greece, representing a series of strategic campaigns, shifting alliances, and military confrontations that ultimately established Roman supremacy over the Hellenistic world. Macedonia, under the rule of kings such as Philip V and Perseus, was a formidable power in the Greek world, boasting disciplined armies, cavalry, and well-fortified cities. The Macedonian Wars, spanning from 214 BCE to 148 BCE, were initiated by Rome's intervention in regional disputes, its alliance building with Greek city-states, and its ambition to extend influence over strategic territories in the eastern Mediterranean. The First War involved both direct military engagement and delicate diplomacy, as Rome sought to weaken Macedonia while securing allies among the fragmented Greek Greek city-states played a complex role in the Macedonian Wars, often divided between support for Macedonia and allegiance to Rome. Athens, Sparta, the Aetolian League, the Achaean League, and other states pursued their own interests, sometimes switching sides depending on political, economic, or military advantage. Rome skillfully exploited these divisions, offering protection, economic incentives, and promises of autonomy to states willing to align against Macedonia. These alliances were critical to Rome's strategy, providing additional troops, local knowledge, and logistical support, while also deepening political influence in Greek affairs. The fluidity of alliances required careful negotiation, persistent diplomacy, and strategic patience, as Rome sought to maximize gains while minimizing resistance from Greek factions. The First Macedonian War, 214 to 205 BCE, was characterized by cautious maneuvering, limited engagements, and a series of inconclusive battles. While the Romans did not achieve a decisive victory, the war established Rome as a credible force in the region and set the stage for further interventions. During this period, diplomacy was as important as military action. As Rome negotiated alliances, secured strategic positions, and prepared for future campaigns, Macedonia's engagement with other Hellenistic powers, including alliances with the Seleucid Empire and intermittent conflicts with other Greek leagues, created additional complexity, forcing Rome to balance military readiness with political strategy. The Second Macedonian War, 200 to 196 BCE, saw Rome adopting a more assertive and coordinated military approach. Under the leadership of capable generals such as Titus, Quinctius, Flamininus, Roman forces advanced into Greek territories, engaging Macedonian armies and securing key cities. The Battle of Cynocephalae in 197 BCE was a decisive engagement, demonstrating the superiority of Roman legion tactics over Macedonian phalanxes. This victory allowed Rome to impose terms on Macedonia, liberate certain Greek states from Macedonian control, and assert itself as the arbiter of power in Greece. The Roman strategy combined military efficiency, psychological warfare, and diplomatic outreach, encouraging Greek states to align with Rome while maintaining local governance under Roman supervision. The Third Macedonian War, 171 to 168 BCE, further solidified Rome's dominance, culminating in the defeat of King Perseus at the Battle of Pydna. This conflict revealed the adaptability and cohesion of the Roman military, which could respond to evolving tactics, challenging terrain, and determined resistance. The aftermath of the war saw the division of Macedonia into Roman-administered districts, the imposition of tribute, and the restructuring of political arrangements to prevent the re-emergence of centralized Macedonian power. Roman control was not merely military. It involved economic oversight, urban planning, and cultural integration, laying the groundwork for long-term governance and the stabilization of Roman authority in Greece. Greek alliances continued to play a critical role throughout these wars. City-states that cooperated with Rome often received favorable treatment, autonomy in local governance, and opportunities to participate in trade and cultural exchange. Conversely, states that resisted or sided with Macedonia faced punitive measures, including military occupation, economic restrictions, and political restructuring. Rome's approach combined pragmatism with strategic calculation, fostering loyalty while deterring rebellion. By navigating the complex web of Greek politics, leveraging alliances, and demonstrating military strength, Rome gradually extended its influence across the Greek world, transforming relationships between city-states and the emerging imperial authority. Cultural and ideological factors also shaped the Macedonian Wars. Greek intellectual and artistic traditions influenced Roman perceptions, inspiring admiration, adaptation, and strategic engagement. Greek education, rhetoric, philosophy, and military tactics were studied and often incorporated into Roman systems, enhancing both governance and military efficiency. This cultural engagement did not prevent conquest, but facilitated smoother integration, as Greek elites often collaborated with Roman authorities, retaining local influence while acknowledging Roman supremacy. Temples, theaters, and civic institutions continued to function, albeit under the oversight of Roman administration, preserving cultural continuity while consolidating political control. Economic considerations were equally central to the Macedonian Wars. Control over Macedonia and Greek city-states allowed Rome to access valuable resources, including agricultural production, trade routes, and mineral wealth. Tribute, taxation, and the regulation of commerce reinforced Roman economic power, funding further military campaigns and supporting administrative structures. Greek cities became integrated into broader Roman economic networks, linking the eastern Mediterranean with Italy and other Roman territories. The management of these resources required both strategic oversight and practical governance, ensuring stability and reinforcing Rome's role as both conqueror and administrator. In conclusion, the Macedonian Wars exemplify Rome's combination of military strategy, diplomacy, alliance building, and pragmatic governance in its conquest of Greece. By navigating Greek political divisions, leveraging alliances, and demonstrating tactical superiority, Rome transformed a fragmented region into a controlled sphere of influence. Military victories, strategic diplomacy, economic management, and cultural integration collectively ensured Roman dominance while fostering stability and cooperation among Greek states. The Macedonian Wars laid the foundation for subsequent Roman administration, urban development, and cultural integration, setting the stage for centuries of Roman influence over Greece and the wider Hellenistic world. The final stages of Rome's conquest of Greece were marked by the fall of Macedon and the systematic integration of Greek city-states into the Roman sphere of influence. After the decisive defeat of King Perseus at the Battle of Pydna in 168 BCE, Macedonia ceased to exist as an independent kingdom. Rome divided the territory into 4 separate client republics, each under Roman supervision, effectively eliminating the centralized Macedonian monarchy that had once posed a formidable challenge to Roman ambitions. These new administrative divisions allowed Rome to maintain control without overwhelming its resources, ensuring political stability while preventing the re-emergence of centralized opposition. Roman governors and military overseers monitored the region, while local elites were co-opted into administrative roles, creating a system that balanced oversight with continuity in local governance. Greek city-states, previously allied with Macedonia or attempting to maintain independence, faced a new reality under Roman dominance. Cities such as Corinth, Thebes, and Athens experienced varying degrees of military occupation, political restructuring, and economic oversight. In some cases, punitive measures were imposed to discourage rebellion, including confiscation of property, restrictions on local governance, and temporary garrisons. In other cases, cooperative city-states retained partial autonomy, allowed to manage internal affairs under Roman guidance while acknowledging Roman supremacy. Rome's approach combined pragmatism with strategic foresight, understanding that sustainable control required both strength and accommodation, fostering loyalty among compliant elites while neutralizing potential centers of resistance. The integration of Greek territories involved not only political control, but also cultural, economic, and social assimilation. Rome was deeply influenced by Greek art, architecture, philosophy, and education, and this admiration was reflected in its administration of conquered territories. Greek elites were encouraged to participate in governance, trade, and cultural life under Roman oversight, ensuring continuity of local institutions while embedding Roman authority. Temples, theaters, and civic centers continued to function, often financed or reorganized under Roman direction. Trade networks were expanded and regulated, linking Greek cities with Italy and the broader Roman world. This integration facilitated economic growth, cultural exchange, and political stability, creating a framework for centuries of coexistence between Greek tradition and Roman administration. Military presence remained a key component of Roman control. Legions were stationed strategically in Macedonia and key Greek cities to deter rebellion, protect trade routes, and enforce Roman decrees. The legions served not only as a deterrent but also as a symbol of Roman authority, demonstrating the consequences of resistance while providing security and stability. Military infrastructure, including roads, forts, and garrisons, was developed to ensure efficient movement of troops, communication, and supply lines, reinforcing Rome's capacity to maintain long-term control over the region. The combination of military vigilance, administrative oversight, and strategic alliances created a durable system of governance that balanced force with cooperation. Economic integration was central to Rome's strategy. Greek city-states were incorporated into a broader Roman economic network, facilitating the flow of goods, taxes, and tribute. Agricultural production, mineral resources, and trade routes were carefully monitored, with surplus resources directed to support both local needs and the Roman state. Greek merchants and artisans found opportunities within this system, while Roman authorities implemented regulations to ensure consistency, efficiency, and compliance with fiscal objectives. The integration of Greek economies into the Roman framework reinforced political control, promoted urban development, and facilitated cultural exchange, allowing Greece to retain its identity while contributing to Roman prosperity. Cultural exchange played a unique role in the integration of Greece. Roman elites were fascinated by Greek philosophy, literature, theater, and art, incorporating Hellenistic aesthetics and ideas into their own society. Educated Romans often spoke Greek, studied its texts, and patronized Greek artists, philosophers, and teachers. This mutual influence created a fusion of cultures, in which Greek traditions were preserved and celebrated even under Roman political domination. Greek educational institutions continued to function, training citizens in rhetoric, philosophy, and science. while Roman administrative and military structures imposed new frameworks for governance and societal organization. This blending of Greek and Roman elements created a dynamic cultural environment, fostering intellectual exchange and shaping the Mediterranean world for centuries. Social life in Greek cities adapted to Roman oversight. Public spaces, religious festivals, and civic rituals continued, often incorporating elements of Roman law, authority, and cultural practice. Greek citizens navigated this new reality with a mix of adaptation and preservation, maintaining local traditions while accommodating Roman expectations. Elite families often engaged in political and economic collaboration with Roman authorities, securing wealth, influence, and social standing, while ordinary citizens adjusted daily routines, trade practices, and communal activities to align with the new political landscape. The integration process was thus both administrative and deeply personal, affecting the rhythms of daily life, social structures, and cultural practices across the region. Education and philosophy remained central to Greek society under Roman rule. Schools, academies, and philosophical circles continued to thrive, attracting students and thinkers from across the Mediterranean. Roman patronage supported these institutions, ensuring continuity of learning and intellectual engagement while promoting cultural exchange. Greek philosophical thought influenced Roman leaders, shaping political decision-making, ethical reasoning, and educational priorities. The coexistence of Greek intellectual traditions with Roman political structures created a unique environment in which ideas, knowledge, and governance intersected, reinforcing both cultural richness and political stability. In conclusion, the fall of Macedon and the integration of Greek city-states represented the culmination of Rome's conquest, combining military victory, strategic administration, economic assimilation, and cultural engagement. Rome's pragmatic approach ensured stability, fostered loyalty among elites, and allowed Greek cities to retain elements of their identity while contributing to the broader Roman state. Military oversight, economic regulation, and cultural collaboration created a durable system of control, balancing authority with accommodation. The legacy of this integration extended beyond political domination, shaping art, education, trade, and daily life, and laying the foundation for centuries of Greek influence within the Roman Empire. The conquest of Greece by Rome was not merely a result of political maneuvering and alliances. It was fundamentally shaped by the discipline, innovation, and strategy of the Roman military. Rome's legions were organized, trained, and equipped in ways that allowed them to confront and overcome the diverse military challenges posed by Greek city-states and Hellenistic armies. Each legion was a highly structured unit, consisting of centuries, led by centurions, and coordinated under the command of experienced generals. Roman soldiers were trained in marching, formation maneuvers, weapon handling, and siege tactics, fostering cohesion, efficiency, and adaptability on the battlefield. The structure of the legions, combined with rigorous discipline and practical experience, provided Rome with a military advantage that often compensated for numerical inferiority or unfamiliar terrain. Siege warfare played a particularly crucial role in Rome's campaigns in Greece, as many Greek cities were fortified with walls, citadels, and strategic positions that made direct assault challenging. Roman engineers developed and deployed a variety of siege technologies, including battering rams, towers, catapults, and advanced fortifications to protect their own forces. These innovations allowed the legions to conduct prolonged sieges, breach city defenses, and minimize casualties. Knowledge of terrain, local resources, and enemy tactics was critical, and Roman commanders often combined intelligence gathering with tactical flexibility to achieve success. The use of logistics, supply lines, and coordinated troop movements ensured that sieges could be sustained over months without compromising operational efficiency. Strategic approach in Greece also relied heavily on psychological warfare and intimidation. Demonstrations of military power, shows of force, and the careful display of siege equipment were designed to discourage resistance, encourage surrender, and undermine the morale of enemy forces. Negotiations and offers of favorable terms were frequently employed in tandem with military pressure, allowing Rome to achieve objectives with minimal bloodshed when possible. The combination of physical siege techniques, psychological tactics, and political maneuvering exemplified Rome's pragmatic approach, ensuring that military victories translated into long-term control and political stability. The Macedonian Wars and subsequent campaigns in Greece illustrate the effectiveness of Roman military strategy. Battles such as Cynocephalae demonstrated the adaptability of Roman legions against Macedonian phalanxes, while sieges of fortified cities tested engineering skill, patience, and coordination. Roman generals, including Titus Quinctius Flamininus, meticulously planned campaigns, balancing frontal assaults with flanking maneuvers, ambushes, and encirclements. Legions were supported by auxiliary forces, including cavalry, archers, and allied contingents, enhancing flexibility and capability. Tactical innovation, disciplined formations, and combined arms coordination allowed Rome to overcome the diverse challenges of Greek warfare, securing victories that were as much the result of planning and training as of battlefield heroism. Roman logistics and infrastructure were equally important in military campaigns. The movement of troops, equipment, and supplies over rugged terrain and across the Mediterranean required careful organization. Roads, bridges, and temporary fortifications facilitated rapid deployment, ensured secure supply lines, and allowed forces to maintain readiness even during extended campaigns. Camps were constructed systematically with defensive structures, water sources, and provisions for food storage, hygiene, and medical care. These logistical capabilities allowed Roman forces to maintain operational superiority, recover from setbacks, and sustain prolonged engagements, contributing significantly to their success in Greece. Diplomacy and alliances were integrated with military operations, creating a multifaceted approach to conquest. Rome cultivated relationships with Greek city-states, leveraging local knowledge, manpower, and political influence to complement military objectives. Allies provided troops, intelligence, and logistical support, while Roman generals used these partnerships to isolate enemies, create divisions among opponents, and secure strategic positions. The interplay of diplomacy and military force allowed Rome to extend influence efficiently, minimizing prolonged conflict while maximizing territorial gains. Strategic patience, careful negotiation, and judicious use of force were hallmarks of Roman campaigns, reflecting an understanding that conquest required both battlefield skill and political acumen. Siege tactics also evolved in response to specific Greek fortifications. Roman engineers adapted designs to overcome high walls, moats, and natural defensive features, developing mobile towers, scaling equipment, and battering mechanisms. Artillery, including catapults and ballistae, allowed Rome to target enemy defenses from a distance, while coordinated infantry assaults exploited breaches and weaknesses. Night operations, feints, and diversions were employed to confuse defenders, create openings, and reduce casualties. These methods reflected not only technological innovation but also meticulous planning, disciplined execution, and the ability to integrate intelligence with tactical action. The human element of Roman military success was equally significant. Soldiers were trained to maintain morale, execute orders under pressure, and operate cohesively in complex maneuvers. Leadership, discipline, and a sense of duty were instilled through rigorous drills, rewards, and a hierarchical command structure that emphasized accountability and initiative. The integration of engineering, logistics, and battlefield tactics fostered a culture of adaptability, problem-solving, and resilience, allowing Roman legions to confront the diverse challenges of Greek warfare. From pitched battles to fortified city sieges, in addition to direct combat, Rome's military approach emphasized post-conquest control and integration. Fortified camps, garrisons, and strategically placed roads allowed rapid response to resistance, while the incorporation of local auxiliaries facilitated both governance and further military campaigns. Captured cities were often reorganized administratively, with Roman oversight ensuring loyalty, tax collection, and civic order. Military presence extended beyond battlefield success to long-term governance, economic integration, and cultural influence, ensuring that conquest translated into sustainable dominance. Roman military strategy and siege warfare in Greece combined disciplined legions, innovative engineering, logistical mastery, psychological tactics, and diplomatic engagement to achieve both immediate victories and long-term control. The interplay of battlefield skill, careful planning, and strategic alliances allowed Rome to overcome formidable Greek defenses, navigate complex political landscapes, and integrate conquered territories into its growing sphere of influence. The success of Roman campaigns in Greece demonstrates that conquest was not merely the result of brute force, but the product of careful coordination, adaptability, and the seamless integration of military, political, and cultural objectives. Rome's conquest of Greece was defined by a series of crucial battles that showcased the effectiveness of Roman military organization, discipline, and tactical innovation. Unlike the fragmented Greek forces, which often relied on traditional phalanx formations, heavily armed hoplites, and city-based militias, the Roman legions were highly adaptable, capable of responding dynamically to varying battlefield conditions. Key battles, such as Cynocephalae and Thermopylae engagements during later campaigns, illustrate the strategic ingenuity, flexibility, and discipline that allowed Rome to overcome numerically strong or entrenched Greek forces. Each engagement highlighted a combination of preparation, battlefield intelligence, leadership, and innovative tactics that collectively contributed to Rome's dominance in Greece. The Battle of Cynocephalae in 197 BCE serves as a defining example of Roman military superiority over the Macedonian phalanx. The Macedonian army, led by King Philip V, relied on the dense, heavily armed phalanx formation, which was highly effective in head-on engagements on flat terrain but lacked flexibility in uneven landscapes. The Romans, with their manipular legion system, divided their troops into smaller autonomous units that could maneuver independently while maintaining cohesion. This adaptability allowed Roman soldiers to exploit gaps in the phalanx, surround enemy flanks, and engage in localized skirmishes that disrupted the cohesion of Macedonian forces. The outcome demonstrated not only the effectiveness of Roman tactics, but also the importance of leadership, discipline, and adaptability in overcoming traditional military doctrines. The Battle of Pydna in 168 BCE further reinforced Rome's tactical dominance. Facing King Perseus of Macedon, the Roman legions encountered the familiar phalanx formation, but this time on terrain that presented additional challenges, including hills and uneven ground. The Romans used tactical flexibility to their advantage, weakening the phalanx by attacking exposed sections and creating confusion among Macedonian ranks. Infantry units, supported by cavalry, flanked the enemy, while missile troops harassed formations, exploiting vulnerabilities in the rigid Macedonian lines. The decisive Roman victory at Pydna marked the effective end of Macedonian military independence and illustrated the superiority of a flexible, disciplined, and strategically coordinated military system over traditional Hellenistic tactics. In addition to phalanx battles, Romans frequently faced fortified Greek cities that required both tactical ingenuity and siegecraft. City walls, citadels, and natural defensive terrain posed significant obstacles, demanding careful planning, engineering, and tactical patience. Roman commanders often combined direct assaults with psychological tactics, offering terms of surrender or exploiting internal dissent within besieged populations. The use of siege towers, battering rams, ballistae, and catapults allowed Roman forces to breach fortifications efficiently, while coordinated infantry movements ensured that breaches were exploited effectively. Night operations, feints, and diversionary attacks further exemplified the tactical creativity of Roman commanders, who understood that adaptability and preparation were as critical as brute force in determining victory. Roman military tactics emphasized coordination between various types of troops. Infantry formed the backbone of the legions, capable of executing complex maneuvers and holding the line under pressure. Cavalry units provided mobility, reconnaissance, and rapid flanking maneuvers, while auxiliary troops, including archers and skirmishers, offered flexibility in disrupting enemy formations. This combined arms approach allowed Roman commanders to respond to dynamic battlefield conditions, adapt to enemy strategies, and exploit weaknesses effectively. Coordination between these elements was supported by disciplined command structures, rigorous training, and clear communication, ensuring that each unit contributed to the overall battle plan while maintaining flexibility for local decision-making. Logistics and battlefield preparation were equally central to tactical success. Roman generals conducted reconnaissance, assessed terrain, and positioned troops strategically to maximize advantages. Supply lines were maintained to ensure continuous access to food, weapons, and equipment, while temporary fortifications and fieldworks provided protection against counterattacks. Morale and discipline were reinforced through systematic drills, hierarchical command, and clear incentives, enabling Roman soldiers to maintain cohesion even under prolonged engagement or in the face of formidable defenses. The integration of tactical planning, logistical support, and human discipline created a force capable of sustained operational effectiveness. Distinguishing Roman legions from their Greek counterparts, psychological tactics also played a significant role in battles against Greek armies. The display of Roman military organization, the use of banners, the synchronized marching of troops, and the visible presence of advanced siege equipment often intimidated opposing forces. Negotiations and offers of favorable terms were sometimes presented simultaneously with aggressive posturing, encouraging surrender or weakening the resolve of defenders. This dual approach, combining tangible military superiority with strategic psychological pressure, allowed Rome to achieve objectives efficiently, conserving resources while maximizing battlefield effectiveness. Rome's campaigns were not solely focused on open-field engagements. Ambushes, night attacks, and strategic maneuvering were often employed to destabilize enemy forces before major battles. Roman commanders studied enemy movements, exploited weaknesses, and coordinated multi-pronged assaults to achieve local superiority even when outnumbered. This adaptability, combined with disciplined execution and tactical foresight, enabled Roman armies to prevail over forces that were often deeply entrenched, well-trained, or strategically positioned. Greek generals, though skilled and experienced, often found it difficult to counter the dynamic, coordinated, and disciplined approach of the legions. Finally, the integration of conquered territories required post-battle administration, including garrison placement, fortification, and surveillance. Rome ensured that military victories translated into long-term control, using troops to maintain order, secure strategic positions, and support local governance. These measures prevented rebellions, facilitated taxation and resource collection, and allowed Roman authority to be established sustainably. The emphasis on post-conflict management reflects the strategic depth of Roman military planning, extending influence beyond individual battles to long-term territorial dominance. In essence, the key battles and military tactics used against Greek armies combined discipline, adaptability, strategic innovation, logistical mastery, and psychological insight. The Roman legion's ability to confront diverse challenges from phalanx formations to fortified cities demonstrated the superiority of a flexible, organized, and integrated military system. By blending battlefield skill, tactical foresight, engineering prowess, and post-battle governance, Rome secured not only immediate victories but also long-term control over Greece, transforming both the political and cultural landscape of the region. The aftermath of Rome's decisive military victories in Greece marked a transformative period in which Roman authority, governance, and cultural influence were systematically consolidated across the region. Following the defeat of Macedonian kings and the submission of resistant Greek city-states, Rome faced the challenge of transforming military triumph into long-term political stability and economic integration. This process involved careful administration, strategic placement of military forces, restructuring of local governance, and the integration of Greek elites into the Roman political framework. By combining military oversight with pragmatic governance, Rome ensured that its conquest translated into durable control rather than transient domination. One of the first steps in consolidation was the establishment of Roman garrisons in strategic locations throughout Greece. These garrisons were not merely military outposts. They served as centers of administrative control, communication hubs, and symbols of Roman authority. Soldiers stationed in these garrisons maintained order, protected key trade routes, and monitored political activity within surrounding regions. The presence of disciplined Roman legions reassured compliant city-states and deterred potential rebellions, reinforcing the perception of Rome as an unchallengeable power. The positioning of troops was carefully calculated to balance security needs with economic considerations, ensuring both political stability and efficient resource management. Local governance was restructured to align with Roman interests while allowing a degree of continuity for Greek administrative practices. Cities were often required to pay tribute, submit to Roman oversight, and provide troops or resources when necessary. But local magistrates and elites frequently retained administrative roles. By coopting influential Greek citizens, Rome created a collaborative framework in which loyalty to the state was rewarded with social status, economic opportunity, and political recognition. This approach minimized resistance, facilitated smoother governance, and allowed Rome to exercise control without the need for excessive military occupation. Political restructuring was reinforced by treaties, regulations, and formal agreements that delineated responsibilities, rights, and obligations, creating a clear hierarchy of authority between Rome and its newly conquered territories. Economic integration was another critical aspect of post-battle consolidation. Greek cities were incorporated into Roman trade networks, linking the Eastern Mediterranean with Italy and other Roman provinces. Control over key ports, agricultural regions, and commercial hubs allowed Rome to extract resources efficiently, support military logistics, and stimulate economic activity that benefited both local populations and the empire at large. Markets, ports, and infrastructure were maintained and sometimes expanded, facilitating trade, tax collection, and mobility. Economic oversight also allowed Rome to manage potential unrest, as prosperity and opportunity were strategically linked to compliance with Roman rule. The integration of Greek economies strengthened the empire's cohesion while fostering stability and growth. Cultural assimilation played a unique role in consolidating Roman power. Romans admired Greek art, literature, philosophy, and architecture, and this respect influenced governance and social policy. Greek educational institutions, theaters, and religious sites were preserved, often receiving patronage from Roman authorities, which encouraged collaboration and goodwill. Educated Greek elites engaged in administration, trade, and intellectual life, bridging cultural gaps and reinforcing loyalty. Rome, the interplay between Greek cultural continuity and Roman administrative oversight created an environment where conquest did not erase identity but rather integrated it into a broader imperial framework, fostering a sense of shared civilization, and mutual benefit, military strategy continued to underpin the consolidation process. Even after major victories, Roman forces remained vigilant, maintaining garrisons, monitoring political developments, and ensuring that tribute and obligations were met. Roads, fortifications, and communication networks facilitated rapid response to unrest or rebellion, while ongoing military presence reinforced the perception of Rome as a disciplined and omnipresent authority. By linking battlefield success to continuous security measures, Rome transformed temporary victories into long-lasting dominance, ensuring that the gains achieved through combat were preserved and expanded through careful oversight. Diplomacy and alliances complemented military oversight, helping to stabilize Greek territories after conquest. Cities that had demonstrated loyalty or collaborated with Roman authorities often received favorable treatment, including autonomy in local governance, economic privileges, and recognition of elite families. Conversely, cities that resisted faced punitive measures such as fines, temporary occupation, or restrictions on political autonomy. By selectively rewarding cooperation and deterring opposition, Rome cultivated a system of incentives that promoted stability and reinforced authority. This balance of reward and discipline encouraged Greek elites and populations to accept Roman governance while maintaining a degree of local identity and autonomy. Education and philosophy played a subtle yet important role in consolidation. Greek schools, academies, and intellectual circles continued to thrive under Roman oversight, with Greek scholars often teaching Roman students and vice versa. Philosophy, rhetoric, and literature remained central to civic life, fostering dialogue and cultural exchange. This intellectual continuity reinforced social cohesion, encouraged collaboration between Greek and Roman elites, and created a shared framework of values and knowledge that supported governance. The preservation of educational and cultural institutions helped integrate conquered populations, providing continuity amid political and military change. Religious practices were similarly respected and incorporated into Roman governance. Greek temples, festivals, and religious rituals continued under Roman supervision, often integrated into civic and imperial ceremonies. This approach minimized resistance, fostered goodwill, and reinforced a sense of order and stability. By allowing religious continuity, Rome demonstrated respect for local traditions while asserting ultimate political and military authority. Religious institutions often acted as centers for social organization and communication, further supporting the integration and governance of Greek communities. Urban planning and infrastructure also facilitated consolidation. Roman authorities invested in roads, bridges, aqueducts, and public buildings, linking cities and improving mobility, communication, and economic efficiency. These developments enhanced trade, military logistics, and administrative oversight, while also visibly demonstrating the benefits of Roman governance. Public works created a tangible connection between conquest and practical improvement, encouraging cooperation and reinforcing the perception of Rome as a stabilizing and beneficial authority. In essence, the aftermath of battles and the consolidation of Roman power in Greece involved a multifaceted approach combining military presence, political restructuring, economic integration, cultural accommodation, education, religious continuity, and infrastructure development, Rome transformed victories into sustainable governance by balancing authority with cooperation, force with incentives, and oversight with respect for local traditions. The integration of Greek city-states into the Roman sphere created a stable, prosperous, and culturally rich environment, allowing Rome to maintain dominance while fostering collaboration and continuity. This period laid the foundation for centuries of Greek participation in the Roman Empire, shaping political, social, economic, and cultural landscapes across the Mediterranean world. The consolidation of Roman power in Greece required not only military domination, but also a careful restructuring of political institutions to ensure long-term governance, stability, and compliance. Roman authorities faced the challenge of integrating a culturally rich, politically fragmented region into a centralized imperial system without provoking widespread resistance. To achieve this, Rome implemented a comprehensive political reorganization, balancing direct control with delegated authority, leveraging local elites, and establishing administrative frameworks that combined Roman oversight with Greek civic traditions. This approach reflected Rome's pragmatic understanding of governance. Coercion alone was insufficient, while collaboration and structured administration allowed the empire to maintain stability across diverse territories. In many Greek cities, traditional forms of government, such as councils, assemblies, and magistrates, were maintained but subjected to Roman supervision. Local leaders were expected to follow imperial directives, pay tribute, and ensure compliance with broader administrative policies. At the same time, these leaders retained a degree of autonomy in managing internal affairs, such as civic events, religious festivals, and local judicial matters. By co-opting influential elites, Rome ensured that the ruling class had vested interests in maintaining order and loyalty, while ordinary citizens saw continuity in familiar governance structures. This balance of authority allowed Rome to exercise control effectively without destabilizing urban life, preserving civic pride and local identity while embedding imperial oversight. Roman governors, appointed to oversee larger regions or strategic territories, exercised both military and administrative authority. They were responsible for supervising garrisons, enforcing laws, collecting taxes, and monitoring political activity. These officials reported directly to higher authorities in Rome, ensuring accountability and coordination across provinces. Governors also adjudicated disputes between cities or regions, mediated conflicts among elites, and implemented policies designed to integrate Greek cities into the empire's legal and administrative framework. The presence of capable and authoritative governors ensured that Roman policies were executed consistently, bridging the gap between imperial directives and local implementation. The creation of client states and federations was another strategy used to reorganize political structures in Greece. By establishing dependent states with limited sovereignty, Rome could exert influence without committing extensive resources to direct occupation. These client states were often required to provide troops, pay tribute, and align foreign policy with Roman interests, while retaining some internal autonomy. Federations, such as the Achaean League after its subjugation, were reorganized under Roman supervision, with leadership structures that ensured compliance while preserving the appearance of self-governance. This method allowed Rome to manage complex regional dynamics efficiently, minimizing rebellion while maintaining flexibility in administration, tribute, and taxation. Systems were carefully implemented to support both military and civic functions. Greek cities were assessed based on population, economic output, military garrisons, and infrastructure projects. Tax collection was monitored by Roman officials and local elites, ensuring compliance and reducing opportunities for corruption or evasion. The integration of taxation into civic life reinforced Rome's authority, while simultaneously supporting the development of public works, roads, ports, and civic buildings, creating tangible benefits that encouraged local acceptance of imperial rule. Legal systems were another critical aspect of Roman administration. While local laws and customs were often respected, Roman legal principles were gradually introduced to standardize governance across conquered territories. Courts were established to adjudicate disputes, both between citizens and between cities, with Roman officials ensuring fairness, consistency, and alignment with imperial objectives. Laws governing property rights, contracts, commerce, and criminal offenses were codified and enforced, creating predictability, stability, and a framework for economic development. The integration of Greek legal traditions with Roman law exemplified the empire's pragmatic approach, preserving local identity while promoting centralized authority and rule of law. Infrastructure development complemented political reorganization. Roads, bridges, aqueducts, and public buildings were constructed or improved to facilitate communication, troop movement, trade, and administrative efficiency. These projects were often funded by tribute or local contributions and supervised by Roman officials. The presence of visible, functional infrastructure reinforced the perception of Rome as an effective and beneficial authority, demonstrating the practical advantages of compliance while embedding imperial power into the daily lives of Greek citizens. Urban planning, city fortifications, and administrative centers were often redesigned to reflect Roman standards, improving security and administrative functionality while maintaining Greek cultural elements. Cultural diplomacy and collaboration with Greek elites were essential to effective administration. Educated Greek citizens were often recruited into municipal councils, administrative offices, and advisory roles, ensuring that local knowledge and expertise informed governance. These individuals served as intermediaries between Roman authorities and the broader population, facilitating communication, policy implementation, and social cohesion. Cultural collaboration also extended to religious institutions, festivals, and educational systems, integrating Greek traditions into the broader imperial framework. This approach minimized resistance, fostered loyalty, and reinforced the perception that Rome respected and valued Greek cultural heritage while asserting political authority. Military oversight remained intertwined with political administration. Garrisons were strategically placed in key cities, border regions, and trade hubs to maintain security and enforce Roman directives. Soldiers assisted with policing, ensured compliance with taxation, and provided rapid response capabilities in the event of unrest. The visible presence of the military underscored the consequences of disobedience, while providing practical support for governance and infrastructure projects. Coordination between civil administrators and military commanders ensured that political authority, economic management, and security were mutually reinforcing, creating a stable and durable system of control. Education and civic participation were leveraged to support administrative objectives. Schools, philosophical academies, and public lectures were encouraged and sometimes sponsored by Roman authorities, providing venues for cultural exchange, intellectual development, and dissemination of political ideas compatible with imperial governance. Greek elites trained in rhetoric, philosophy, and administration often collaborated with Roman officials, creating an educated administrative class capable of managing civic affairs while reinforcing loyalty to Rome. This integration of education, governance, and civic participation strengthened the administrative framework and fostered a sense of continuity amid political transition. In essence, the political reorganization and Roman administration of Greek cities combined military oversight, cooptation of elites, legal standardization, infrastructure development, taxation, and cultural diplomacy to create a resilient system of governance. By balancing authority with collaboration, Rome maintained control over diverse and historically independent city-states while preserving elements of local identity, culture, and civic life. This pragmatic approach ensured stability, facilitated economic growth, and integrated Greece into the Roman Empire, establishing a governance model that allowed the region to thrive under imperial oversight while maintaining its distinctive cultural and social character. The consolidation of Roman power in Greece extended far beyond military conquest and political reorganization. It also encompassed a comprehensive approach to economic policies and trade integration. The Roman Empire recognized that durable control depended on creating a stable, prosperous, and interconnected economic network, allowing both Rome and its Greek territories to benefit. By implementing systematic taxation, regulating trade, developing infrastructure, and fostering local industries, Rome transformed Greece from a fragmented region of independent city-states into a cohesive economic component of the empire. This economic integration not only reinforced political control, but also facilitated cultural exchange, urban development, and long-term prosperity. One of the central pillars of Rome's economic strategy was the establishment of a standardized system of tribute and taxation. Greek city-states were assessed based on their population, wealth, and strategic importance, and contributions were required to support both local administration and imperial needs. Taxes were collected through a combination of local officials and Roman oversight, ensuring accountability and compliance. In some cases, tax responsibilities were shared among city leagues or federations, streamlining collection while promoting regional cooperation. This system allowed Rome to fund military garrisons, public works, infrastructure projects, and administrative operations, reinforcing the empire's capacity to govern effectively while providing tangible benefits to Greek communities. Trade integration was another crucial component of Rome's economic policies. Greek cities, strategically located along the Mediterranean coast, had long been centers of commerce, connecting the Aegean, Asia Minor, and the broader Mediterranean world. Rome capitalized on these established networks, linking Greek ports with Italy, North Africa, and other provinces. Maritime trade flourished under Roman supervision, with standardized shipping routes, secure harbors, and regulation of merchant activity ensuring stability and efficiency. Greek merchants, artisans, and shipowners benefited from increased access to wider markets, while Roman authorities collected customs duties, monitored economic activity, and maintained security along trade routes. This integration facilitated the movement of goods, capital, and resources, creating a dynamic, interconnected economy that strengthened Rome's strategic and fiscal position. Infrastructure development played a vital role in enabling trade and economic growth. Roads, bridges, aqueducts, and ports were constructed or enhanced to facilitate the movement of goods, troops, and information. Roman engineers applied advanced techniques to build durable, efficient infrastructure capable of supporting heavy traffic and sustaining commerce. Roads linked inland regions with coastal ports, enabling agricultural products, minerals, and manufactured goods to flow smoothly to domestic and international markets. Aqueducts ensured reliable water supply for urban centers, supporting population growth, industrial activity, and public health. Port improvements facilitated loading, unloading, and storage of goods, enhancing the efficiency of maritime trade and reinforcing Rome's control over strategic coastal locations. The Roman approach to local industries and craftsmanship was both pragmatic and adaptive. Greek artisans, metalworkers, potters, and textile producers were encouraged to maintain and expand their operations, often receiving support through patronage, contracts, or economic incentives. By integrating local production into broader Roman supply chains, Rome ensured the availability of high-quality goods while promoting economic collaboration. Luxury items, such as fine pottery, sculptures, textiles, and jewelry, were exported to other regions of the empire, generating wealth for Greek producers and creating a sense of participation in the empire's prosperity. Local industries were regulated to ensure consistent quality, compliance with imperial standards, and fair taxation. Balancing economic growth with administrative oversight, agriculture remained a cornerstone of the economy, with Greek farms and estates supplying food for local populations. Roman garrisons and distant provinces, land management, irrigation systems, and agricultural taxation were organized to maximize productivity and sustain long-term stability. Large estates, often managed by elite families under Roman oversight, specialized in grain, olive oil, wine, and other staples, while smaller plots supported local communities. Roman policies encouraged efficient land use, surplus production, and trade, ensuring both food security and economic growth. By linking agricultural production to trade networks and taxation systems, Rome strengthened its economic control while maintaining social stability and local prosperity. Financial systems were gradually standardized, facilitating commerce and trade integration. Currency was regulated, coinage was minted and circulated across Greek territories, and markets operated under consistent rules and weights. Financial oversight ensured fairness, minimized fraud, and promoted confidence in economic transactions. Merchants, investors, and consumers could engage in trade across regions with predictable exchange rates and consistent legal protection. This standardization reduced barriers to commerce, encouraged investment, and linked Greek economies with the broader Roman world, reinforcing both fiscal stability and imperial cohesion. Economic incentives were also used to promote loyalty and cooperation. Cities that complied with Roman taxation and contributed to trade networks often received preferential treatment, including investment in infrastructure, reduced tributes, and protection against rivals. Conversely, cities that resisted or failed to meet obligations faced punitive measures such as fines, trade restrictions, or temporary occupation. By balancing rewards and deterrence, Rome cultivated a system of economic governance that encouraged compliance, fostered growth, and reinforced political authority. The integration of economic incentives with political oversight ensured that prosperity was aligned with loyalty, stability, and imperial objectives. Urbanization and city development were closely tied to economic policies. Greek cities under Roman rule saw the construction of marketplaces, forums, port facilities, warehouses, and public buildings that facilitated commerce and civic activity. Urban planning incorporated both Greek cultural traditions and Roman functional design, creating spaces optimized for trade, administration, and public gatherings. Marketplaces became centers not only of economic activity, but also of social interaction, cultural exchange, and political engagement. These developments reinforced the integration of Greek cities into the Roman economic network, while enhancing the quality of urban life, promoting prosperity, and fostering a sense of shared participation in the empire's growth. Education and intellectual activity supported economic integration indirectly by fostering skills, knowledge, and administrative capability. Greek schools, academies, and philosophical institutions trained citizens in mathematics, accounting, rhetoric, and critical thinking, preparing them to participate effectively in commerce, administration, and civic life. Educated elites often served as advisors, merchants, or municipal officials, bridging cultural and linguistic gaps between Roman authorities and local populations. This intellectual integration facilitated economic collaboration, promoted social stability, and reinforced the perception of Greece as an active, productive, and valuable part of the Roman Empire. In conclusion, Rome's economic policies and trade integration in Greece exemplified a holistic approach to governance, combining taxation, trade regulation, infrastructure development, support for local industries, agricultural management, financial standardization, and urban planning. By linking prosperity with loyalty and ensuring that economic activity benefited both Rome and Greek communities, the empire created a stable, interconnected, and resilient economic network. This integration reinforced political authority, promoted cultural exchange, facilitated urban development, and secured long-term control over Greece. Rome's ability to combine military, political, and economic strategies ensured that conquest translated into sustained dominance and shared prosperity, shaping the region's economy and society for centuries to come. The consolidation of Roman power in Greece extended beyond military conquest, political restructuring, and economic integration. It also encompassed a profound cultural and social integration that reshaped Greek society while preserving its identity. Rome, while politically dominant, had a deep admiration for Greek art, philosophy, literature, and civic traditions. This cultural respect became a key instrument in integrating Greek elites, intellectuals, and populations into the Roman Empire. The process was not merely assimilation, but a complex interplay of adaptation, collaboration, and selective preservation, resulting in a unique fusion of Greek and Roman cultural elements that influenced governance, education, social life, and artistic expression. Greek elites played a central role in this integration. Educated citizens, familiar with rhetoric, philosophy, and administrative practices, were encouraged to participate in municipal governance, advisory roles, and imperial administration. Their involvement helped bridge cultural gaps between Roman authorities and local populations, facilitating communication, policy implementation, and social cohesion. These elites gained prestige, wealth, and political influence through collaboration, while the Roman administration benefited from their knowledge, networks, and local legitimacy. This mutually advantageous relationship created a social framework that reinforced loyalty, encouraged civic participation, and preserved Greek intellectual traditions within a Roman political and cultural context. Education and philosophical traditions were preserved and actively promoted under Roman oversight. Greek schools, academies, and philosophical circles continued to thrive, attracting students and thinkers from across the Mediterranean. Romans themselves studied Greek literature, history, and philosophy, admiring works of Plato, Aristotle, and other intellectuals. Greek educators often taught Roman youths, creating an exchange of ideas that shaped political thought, legal frameworks, and cultural norms in both societies. This intellectual integration reinforced social cohesion, legitimized Roman authority through the endorsement of respected Greek traditions, and ensured that Greek cultural heritage remained vibrant even under foreign rule. Religion and religious institutions were similarly incorporated into the integration process. Greek temples, festivals, and rituals continued, often under Roman supervision or with subtle adaptations to reflect imperial authority. Gods and deities were sometimes syncretized with Roman counterparts, blending traditions in a way that honored local practices while reinforcing the broader cultural framework of the empire. Religious leaders often collaborated with Roman officials, mediating between civic populations and imperial authority. This continuity of religious life promoted social stability, encouraged participation in civic activities, and strengthened the perception that Roman rule respected and valued Greek identity, while ensuring compliance with political and administrative objectives. Art, architecture, and public works played a significant role in cultural integration. Greek artistic traditions, including sculpture, pottery, and frescoes, continued to flourish, often supported by Roman patronage. Roman architecture in Greek cities reflected a blend of Hellenistic design principles and functional Roman engineering, resulting in public buildings, forums, theaters, and temples that symbolized both cultural continuity and imperial authority. Public spaces became venues for civic engagement, cultural performance, and political gatherings, reinforcing the presence of Roman governance while celebrating Greek heritage. This integration of art and architecture visually represented the fusion of cultures, fostering a sense of shared identity and participation in the imperial framework. Social life in Greek cities adapted to the new realities of Roman rule, while retaining familiar structures. Civic rituals, festivals, marketplaces, and public gatherings continued to define community life. Romans often participated in or sponsored these events, promoting goodwill and cultural exchange. Elite families engaged in political, economic, and social collaboration, while ordinary citizens navigated the balance between traditional practices and imperial expectations. Social networks, patronage systems, and civic associations facilitated integration, providing opportunities for Greeks to engage with Roman institutions, participate in governance, and contribute to cultural life. This adaptive approach minimized resistance, encouraged collaboration, and allowed Greek society to maintain continuity amid political transformation. Language and communication were also critical to integration. Greek remained widely spoken, particularly among educated classes, while Latin was introduced for administrative, legal, and military purposes. Bilingualism became common among elites, facilitating trade, governance, and cultural exchange. The coexistence of Greek and Latin reflected both practical necessity and cultural respect, enabling smooth operation of administrative systems while preserving the linguistic heritage of Greek society. Schools, public inscriptions, and official documents often incorporated both languages, reinforcing integration while maintaining clarity and accessibility for local populations. Economic participation further reinforced cultural and social integration. Greeks engaged in trade, craftsmanship, agriculture, and urban enterprise under Roman oversight, contributing to prosperity while gaining status and opportunity. Participation in economic networks linked local communities with the wider Roman world, creating interdependence, shared interest, and mutual benefit. Markets, ports, and urban centers became hubs of interaction, where cultural exchange, social engagement, and economic activity intersected, reinforcing the sense of being part of a larger imperial society while retaining local identity. Education, religion, art, social life, and economics were underpinned by Roman law and administrative structures, ensuring that integration served both cultural preservation and imperial objectives. Civic responsibilities, legal obligations, and social norms were aligned with Roman frameworks, while local traditions and practices were respected. This careful balance created a society in which Greeks could maintain identity, participate actively, and benefit from Roman infrastructure and stability. While Rome maintained authority, order, and cultural cohesion across the region, in essence, the cultural and social integration of Greeks into the Roman Empire was a deliberate, multifaceted process combining education, religion, art, social structure, language, and economic participation. Rome's respect for Greek culture, combined with strategic oversight and administrative integration, created a society that was both distinctly Greek and fundamentally part of the Roman world. This fusion fostered loyalty, minimized resistance, and created a lasting legacy in which Greek traditions, intellectual achievement, and social structures continued to influence the empire for centuries. The integration of culture and society ensured that Roman conquest was not merely political, but deeply transformative, creating a vibrant, interconnected, and enduring Mediterranean civilization. After securing Greece through conquest and political reorganization, Rome faced the ongoing challenge of maintaining security and defending its newly acquired territories. Military reforms and strategic deployments were essential to ensure that Greece remained stable, protected from internal unrest, and safeguarded against external threats. Rome understood that conquest alone was insufficient for long-term control. It required a structured military presence, disciplined forces, and adaptive strategies to protect cities, borders, trade routes, and vital resources. These military measures were meticulously designed, balancing the need for efficiency, economic sustainability, and operational effectiveness. The Roman legions stationed in Greece were reorganized to meet the demands of post-conquest defense. Garrisons were established in strategic cities, fortresses, and key transit points, ensuring rapid response to uprisings, raids, or incursions. Soldiers were tasked not only with conventional defense, but also with policing, maintaining order, and supporting administrative functions. Training programs were adapted to the specific challenges of Greek terrain, including mountainous regions, coastal areas, and urban centers, ensuring that troops were versatile and capable of rapid deployment. The emphasis on discipline, logistical efficiency, and cohesion allowed Rome to maintain a credible deterrent while minimizing the economic burden of a permanent occupation force. Infrastructure played a pivotal role in military reforms. Roads, bridges, and fortified outposts facilitated rapid troop movements, improved communication, and enabled efficient supply distribution. Roman engineers constructed watchtowers, signal stations, and temporary fortifications to monitor potential threats and provide early warnings. The integration of infrastructure and military planning ensured that forces could respond quickly to crises, project power across regions, and maintain control over remote or strategically significant areas. Fortified cities acted as defensive hubs, providing secure bases from which legions could operate, while reassuring local populations of Rome's protective presence. Rome also implemented reforms in the recruitment and deployment of auxiliary forces. Greek allies, mercenaries, and auxiliary troops were incorporated into the military system, complementing the legions with cavalry, archers, and specialized units familiar with local terrain and tactics. These auxiliaries enhanced flexibility, reconnaissance, and battlefield effectiveness while providing a degree of local involvement in defense. By integrating local knowledge with Roman discipline, commanders could respond to threats more effectively, reducing vulnerability to ambushes, raids, or guerrilla tactics employed by resistant factions or foreign adversaries. Strategic defense planning extended to the protection of trade routes and economic resources. Coastal cities, ports, and inland trade hubs were prioritized for fortification and garrisoning, ensuring that commerce remained uninterrupted and supplies reached urban populations efficiently. Roman naval forces patrolled critical maritime routes, deterring piracy and securing the flow of goods and resources. The coordination between land-based legions and naval units provided comprehensive protection, combining mobility, surveillance, and rapid response capabilities to maintain security and safeguard economic prosperity. Tactical innovations were also introduced to adapt to the diverse challenges of Greek geography. Mountainous regions, narrow passes, and coastal fortifications required specialized formations, ambush prevention strategies, and adaptive patrols. Roman commanders conducted reconnaissance, mapped terrain, and implemented contingency plans for potential threats. Training emphasized flexibility, rapid maneuvering, and integration of multiple troop types, ensuring that forces could operate effectively in both open battles and defensive operations within urban or rugged environments. This approach reinforced the adaptability and resilience of Roman forces, enabling sustained military dominance across Greece. The role of military engineering in defense cannot be overstated. Romans constructed forts, watchtowers, city walls, and defensive outposts that not only protected populations but also symbolized imperial authority. Siege preparedness was maintained even during peacetime, with stockpiles of equipment, weapons, and supplies strategically located. Engineers and soldiers collaborated to ensure that fortifications could be reinforced or repaired quickly in response to threats. This combination of proactive construction, strategic planning, and operational readiness provided a robust defensive network, deterring potential aggressors while reassuring Greek citizens of Rome's commitment to their protection. Rome's military reforms also included administrative and organizational improvements. Command structures were clarified, lines of authority were standardized, and responsibilities for defense, logistics, and intelligence were clearly defined. Coordination between governors, garrison commanders, and auxiliary units was emphasized, ensuring efficient communication and rapid decision. Record-keeping, mapping, and intelligence gathering allowed commanders to monitor troop readiness, track potential threats, and plan operations with precision. The systematic organization of military forces reinforced the perception of Roman efficiency, competence, and permanence, consolidating the empire's hold over Greece. Civil-military relations were carefully managed to maintain social stability. Soldiers were often integrated into the local communities, engaging in public works, assisting in civic projects, and participating in local life under supervision. This feasibility fostered trust, facilitated collaboration with civic authorities, and minimized tension between the occupying forces and the population. Simultaneously, the disciplined presence of legions reinforced authority and deterred potential insurrections. Rome's approach balanced coercion and cooperation, ensuring that military presence supported governance and social order rather than creating resentment or instability. Strategic deterrence extended to the broader region surrounding Greece. Rome monitored neighboring territories, established alliances with local powers, and maintained readiness for potential incursions by external forces, including Hellenistic kingdoms, piracy networks, and regional insurgents. Diplomacy and intelligence complemented military preparedness, allowing Rome to anticipate threats, neutralize risks proactively, and respond decisively when necessary. The integration of defense, diplomacy, and strategic planning created a comprehensive security system, ensuring that Greece remained stable and fully integrated within the Roman Empire in essence. The military reforms and defense strategies implemented in Greece under Roman rule combined disciplined garrisons, adaptive training, strategic infrastructure, auxiliary integration, tactical innovation, engineering expertise, and administrative coordination. This multi-layered approach ensured the security of Greek cities, trade networks, and economic resources, while maintaining social stability and political authority. Rome's ability to integrate military strength with governance and diplomacy allowed Greece to thrive under imperial oversight while minimizing the risk of rebellion or external aggression. The defensive framework established during this period became a model for Roman administration in other provinces, demonstrating the strategic sophistication, operational efficiency, and enduring effectiveness of the empire's military system. Despite Rome's meticulous military reforms, political restructuring, and administrative oversight, Greek territories were not entirely free from unrest. Rebellions and localized uprisings periodically challenged Roman authority, testing the empire's ability to maintain control over a culturally proud and historically independent region. These disturbances, ranging from minor riots in cities to organized insurrections led by former Hellenistic elites, reflected local grievances, resistance to taxation, and the enduring desire for autonomy. Rome's responses to these rebellions were carefully calibrated to combine swift military suppression with political and cultural measures designed to prevent recurrence and restore long-term stability. Of the earliest forms of unrest involved city-states resisting taxation and tribute obligations. Some Greek communities attempted to withhold payments, disrupt local administration, or defy Roman governors. Such actions were met with a combination of diplomacy and coercion. Roman officials initially sought compliance through negotiation, emphasizing the benefits of loyalty, offering incentives such as investment in infrastructure, or reducing certain obligations to foster cooperation. When these measures failed, military force was employed to swiftly quell defiance. Legions were dispatched to secure critical locations, reassert authority, and ensure that tributary obligations were met. These actions reinforced the perception of Rome as both pragmatic and disciplined, capable of balancing incentive with deterrence. Organized rebellions were occasionally led by Hellenistic elites or former rulers who sought to restore regional independence. These insurgents leveraged local networks, rallied disaffected populations, and sometimes coordinated with external forces to challenge Roman control. Rome's response was multifaceted, involving reconnaissance, strategic deployment of legions, and careful intelligence gathering to identify and neutralize leadership and logistical support. Key cities and strategic passes were fortified, and auxiliary forces familiar with local terrain were deployed to anticipate ambushes or guerrilla tactics. The combination of superior discipline, coordinated planning, and overwhelming force generally ensured that rebellions were suppressed decisively, demonstrating the effectiveness of Rome's military and administrative integration. The revolt of the Achaean League is a notable example of organized resistance against Roman rule. Initially a coalition of Greek city-states, the League attempted to assert autonomy and resist imperial oversight. Rome responded with a comprehensive campaign that combined diplomacy, targeted military engagement, and strategic occupation. Legions secured key urban centers, disrupted supply lines, and neutralized leadership structures while minimizing widespread destruction of civilian infrastructure. Following the rebellion, Rome implemented stricter administrative oversight, reinforced garrisons, and restructured the League's political framework to prevent future insurrections. This measured yet forceful approach illustrated Rome's capacity to balance punitive measures with structural reforms, ensuring long-term stability while deterring further challenges. Minor revolts often occurred in rural areas or among populations burdened by heavy taxation, conscription, or economic disruption. In these instances, Rome relied on a combination of local elites, auxiliary troops, and mobile legions to suppress unrest efficiently. Rapid response, intelligence gathering, and precise targeting of rebel leaders minimized collateral damage while reinforcing imperial authority. Rome's ability to address both urban and rural disturbances demonstrated strategic flexibility and operational efficiency, ensuring that rebellions did not escalate into widespread conflict or undermine governance structures. Cultural and psychological strategies were also employed to mitigate rebellion. Rome recognized that resistance was often fueled by resentment, fear, or perceived disrespect for local traditions. To counter this, Roman authorities emphasized respect for Greek cultural, religious, and educational institutions, integrating elites into governance, supporting civic festivals, and maintaining visible investment in public works. By creating a perception of fairness, cooperation, and cultural continuity, Rome reduced incentives for rebellion, fostered loyalty, and encouraged collaboration among populations that might otherwise have opposed imperial authority. Strategic deterrence extended beyond immediate response to rebellions. Rome implemented policies designed to prevent future uprisings, including the careful placement of garrisons, surveillance of key political and economic centers, and the systematic integration of local elites into administrative and social hierarchies. Punitive measures, such as fines, confiscation of resources, or temporary curtailment of autonomy, were applied selectively to demonstrate consequences without provoking widespread resentment. These strategies ensured that Rome maintained control while cultivating compliance and stability. Combining military strength with political foresight, the Roman approach to rebellion in Greece also incorporated lessons learned from prior conflicts. Tactical flexibility, intelligence gathering, and coordinated multi-pronged campaigns were emphasized, ensuring that forces could respond effectively to unexpected insurgent actions. Roads, communication networks, and infrastructure were leveraged to enable rapid deployment of troops and logistical support. Auxiliary forces familiar with local terrain provided reconnaissance, early warning, and tactical advantage, enhancing the effectiveness of Roman military operations. By integrating strategic planning, operational execution, and post-conflict administration, Rome created a sustainable model for managing rebellion and maintaining authority across Greece. Religious and social institutions were occasionally mobilized to support Roman responses to rebellion. Temples, civic gatherings, and public ceremonies were leveraged to reinforce loyalty, communicate imperial authority, and foster communal identity aligned with Rome. Religious leaders, civic magistrates, and educational figures were encouraged to mediate between populations and imperial authorities, promoting cooperation and reducing resistance. This combination of social influence and military capability demonstrated Rome's sophisticated approach to governance, integrating multiple levers of power to ensure long-term stability. Economics. also played a role in preventing and responding to rebellions. By ensuring that trade, infrastructure, and local industries continued to function effectively, Rome mitigated some of the underlying causes of unrest, including poverty, resource scarcity, and economic disruption. Incentives such as tax relief, investment in public works, and access to wider trade networks encouraged loyalty and participation in the imperial system. The alignment of economic prosperity with political compliance created a feedback loop in which stability promoted growth, and growth reinforced stability. In conclusion, rebellions in Greece were a persistent challenge that tested Rome's capacity for military, political, and administrative control. Through a combination of decisive military action, strategic deterrence, political integration, cultural accommodation, and economic incentives, Rome effectively suppressed uprisings while fostering long-term stability. The careful calibration of force, diplomacy, and governance allowed Greece to remain securely within the Roman sphere, demonstrating the empire's ability to manage culturally complex territories with sophistication and foresight. Rome's responses to rebellion ensured not only the survival of imperial authority, but also the continued prosperity, social cohesion, and integration of Greece into the Roman world. Following the initial consolidation, military reforms, and responses to rebellions, Rome's focus shifted to ensuring the long-term security and stability of Greece. This stage involved strategic planning, infrastructure development, administrative coordination, and continuous surveillance to maintain control over borders, trade routes, and key urban centers. Rome understood that lasting dominance required not just suppression of immediate threats, but the creation of a durable system capable of deterring future challenges, integrating the region into the imperial framework, and preserving both economic and social stability. One of the primary aspects of long-term security was the systematic placement of permanent garrisons in key cities, strategic passes, and border regions. These garrisons served multiple functions. They protected urban centers, monitored trade routes, provided rapid response forces in case of rebellion or invasion, and acted as symbols of Roman authority. Commanders stationed in these garrisons were tasked with both military and administrative duties, ensuring coordination between defense, governance, and civic life. The presence of disciplined legions reassured compliant populations while deterring potential insurgents, reinforcing the perception of Rome as both capable and omnipresent. Infrastructure development was a cornerstone of border management and security. Roads, bridges, watchtowers, and fortified outposts were constructed to facilitate troop movement, communication, and supply distribution. Roads connected coastal ports with inland cities, allowing rapid deployment of forces and efficient transportation of goods, resources, and information. Watchtowers and signal stations enabled early warning of approaching threats, while fortifications around cities and passes strengthened defensive capabilities. The integration of engineering and military strategy created a cohesive network that allowed Rome to respond swiftly and effectively to both internal and external challenges. Rome also relied on intelligence and surveillance to maintain security across Greece. Networks of informants, auxiliary units familiar with local terrain, and observation posts provided continuous updates on political developments, potential insurgent activity, and external threats. This intelligence allowed commanders to anticipate rebellion, identify hostile forces, and deploy troops preemptively. The systematic gathering and analysis of information ensured that Rome could act decisively, often preventing conflicts from escalating into full-scale uprisings. Intelligence networks were complemented by diplomatic engagement with local elites, who provided insights and cooperation in exchange for privileges and recognition within the Roman administrative framework. The integration of Greek elites into the military and administrative system further reinforced long-term security. Local leaders were involved in governance, tax collection, civic organization, and even recruitment for auxiliary forces. By providing incentives such as wealth, prestige, and political influence, Rome cultivated loyalty among influential citizens, creating a vested interest in the stability and success of imperial rule. This collaboration minimized resistance, facilitated enforcement of policies, and encouraged cooperation between Roman authorities and the broader population, ensuring that security measures were embedded within the social fabric rather than imposed externally. Trade and economic stability were also critical to maintaining security. Secure borders and infrastructure enabled the uninterrupted flow of goods, resources, and taxes, reducing the risk of unrest caused by scarcity, economic disruption, or social inequality. Roman authorities monitored trade routes, ports, and urban markets, protecting them from piracy, banditry, and smuggling. Economic incentives, including investment in infrastructure, support for local industries, and preferential treatment for cooperative cities, aligned prosperity with compliance. The integration of economic management with military oversight created a system in which security and prosperity mutually supported each other. Rome's strategic deployment of auxiliary forces and specialized troops enhanced the adaptability of its defensive system. Cavalry units, archers, and light infantry, familiar with Greek terrain, complemented the legions, providing reconnaissance, rapid response capabilities, and flexibility in combat. These troops were deployed in border regions, mountain passes, and coastal areas, enabling proactive defense and rapid intervention in case of threats. Coordination between legions and auxiliaries allowed Rome to maintain a defensive advantage while minimizing the need for excessive garrisoning, reducing both costs and social friction. Legal and administrative frameworks supported long-term security by standardizing rules, responsibilities, and accountability. Roman law was applied consistently across the region, ensuring clarity in matters of taxation, property, trade, and civil obligations. Administrative oversight, conducted by governors, magistrates, and local officials, reinforced compliance and provided a mechanism for resolving disputes before they escalated into conflict. The integration of law, governance, and military presence created a stable environment in which threats to security were identified and mitigated efficiently. Diplomacy and alliances were also part of long-term security strategy. Rome maintained relationships with neighboring states, client kingdoms, and influential Greek cities, balancing military strength with political negotiation. Treaties, federations, and client arrangements allowed Rome to extend its influence, prevent the formation of hostile coalitions, and manage regional dynamics with minimal direct confrontation. This combination of hard power, soft power, and strategic foresight ensured that Greece remained securely within the Roman sphere, reducing the likelihood of large-scale conflicts while maintaining imperial authority. Social and cultural integration reinforced security by promoting loyalty, civic participation, and identity alignment. Greek citizens were encouraged to participate in civic life, religious festivals, educational programs, and public works, creating a sense of shared purpose and belonging within the Roman Empire. Cultural respect, visible investment in infrastructure, and preservation of traditions minimized resentment and fostered cooperation. Security was thus not solely a matter of military strength. It was embedded in the social and cultural systems that linked Greek populations to the empire, making resistance less appealing and collaboration more rewarding. In conclusion, long-term security and border management in Greece under Roman rule combined military presence, infrastructure development, intelligence, auxiliary integration, legal frameworks, economic stability, diplomacy, and cultural engagement. By creating a multi-layered system that addressed both immediate threats and underlying causes of unrest, Rome ensured that Greece remained a stable, secure, and productive component of the empire. The integration of defense, governance, and social cohesion created a resilient framework capable of sustaining Roman authority for centuries, demonstrating the empire's strategic sophistication, operational efficiency, and enduring capacity to manage complex territories with foresight and precision. The conquest and integration of Greece into the Roman Empire had profound and lasting cultural consequences that went far beyond politics, economics, and military control. While Rome maintained political dominance, it also absorbed and adapted many elements of Greek culture, creating a rich fusion that deeply influenced Roman art, literature, philosophy, religion, education, and social customs. This cultural exchange was not a one-way imposition of Roman practices on Greek society, but rather a complex and dynamic interaction in which Greek traditions were preserved, adapted, and celebrated within the broader imperial framework. The influence of Greece on Roman society became a defining feature of the Roman world, shaping its intellectual life, artistic achievements, and collective identity for centuries to come. Greek philosophy had a transformative impact on Roman thought and education. Roman elites were deeply attracted to the intellectual traditions of Greece, studying the works of Plato, Aristotle, Epicurus, and the Stoic philosophers. Greek teachers and tutors were often employed in Roman households, instructing young Roman nobles in rhetoric, ethics, and logic. The introduction of Greek philosophical concepts helped shape Roman approaches to governance, law, and personal conduct. Stoicism, in particular, became a guiding framework for Roman statesmen and military leaders, emphasizing virtue, self-discipline, and rational judgment. By adopting Greek intellectual frameworks, Romans enhanced their administrative capabilities, moral reasoning, and understanding of human behavior, integrating Hellenic wisdom into the fabric of Roman society. Literature and drama were also profoundly influenced by Greek models. Roman poets, playwrights, and historians drew inspiration from Greek epics, tragedies, and comedies, adapting their themes, narrative structures, and stylistic techniques. Works by Homer, Sophocles, and Euripides provided a template for Roman literary expression, while the adaptation of Greek myths and legends enriched Roman storytelling. Epic poetry, such as the works of Virgil, combined Roman themes with Hellenistic narrative techniques, creating a literary tradition that celebrated both imperial achievements and Greek cultural heritage. The integration of Greek literary forms into Roman culture not only preserved these traditions but also fostered a sophisticated literary environment that continues to influence Western literature today. Art and architecture were similarly transformed through Greek influence. Romans admired Greek sculpture, painting, and architectural design, often commissioning replicas or adaptations of famous works for public spaces, private villas, and temples. Greek techniques, proportions, and aesthetic principles were integrated into Roman artistic production, resulting in sculptures, frescoes, and mosaics that combined classical elegance with Roman innovation. Architectural elements such as columns, pediments, and amphitheaters were adapted from Greek designs, enhancing the grandeur and functionality of Roman public buildings. This synthesis of Greek and Roman styles created a visual and cultural continuity that reinforced the shared identity of the Mediterranean world, showcasing the lasting impact of Hellenic artistry on Roman aesthetics. Education in Roman society was deeply shaped by Greek models. The study of grammar, rhetoric, philosophy, and mathematics was structured around Greek methods, and Greek tutors played central roles in educating the Roman elite. This intellectual framework emphasized critical thinking, ethical reasoning, and eloquence, skills that were essential for political leadership, legal practice, and civic engagement. The incorporation of Greek pedagogical approaches ensured that Roman citizens not only inherited Hellenic knowledge but also adapted it to the practical needs of governance, military strategy, and public service. This fusion of educational traditions contributed to the creation of a highly literate and culturally sophisticated elite capable of sustaining the Roman Empire's administrative, legal, and diplomatic functions. Religion and mythology in Rome were also profoundly influenced by Greek beliefs. Many Roman gods, rituals, and religious practices were adapted from Greek precedents, often with modifications to reflect Roman values and societal structures. For example, the Roman pantheon incorporated Greek deities, renaming them but preserving essential attributes, narratives, and symbolism. Festivals, sacrifices, and religious observances reflected Hellenistic traditions, providing a shared cultural framework that reinforced communal identity and social cohesion. Religious syncretism allowed Rome to honor both Greek and Roman traditions, creating a spiritual continuity that linked conquered territories with the cultural and genealogical foundations of the empire. The integration of Greek culture extended into social life and civic practices. Public forums, theaters, baths, and gymnasiums reflected Hellenistic influences, providing spaces for education, social interaction, political debate, and entertainment. These institutions fostered civic engagement, intellectual exchange, and communal identity, blending Greek forms of public life with Roman organizational structures. Greek cultural practices, from athletic competitions to philosophical debates, became part of the daily experiences of Roman citizens. enriching social norms and providing a bridge between conquered populations and imperial authority. The adoption of these practices also reinforced the perception that Roman rule respected and valued the intellectual and cultural achievements of Greece, fostering loyalty and cooperation among Greek populations. Military culture and strategy were influenced indirectly by Greek intellectual and tactical traditions. Greek military manuals, historical accounts, and philosophical analyses of warfare were studied by Roman commanders, informing approaches to strategy, logistics, and discipline. Concepts such as phalanx formations, siege tactics, and combined arms coordination were analyzed, adapted, and integrated into Roman military doctrine, resulting in an effective synthesis of Hellenistic and Roman military thought. The intellectual engagement with Greek military traditions enhanced the effectiveness, adaptability, and strategic sophistication of Roman forces, contributing to the empire's enduring dominance. In addition to formal education, art, and literature, Greek culture influenced Roman everyday life through aesthetics, taste, and domestic practices. Greek-style villas, gardens, sculptures, and decorative arts became highly desirable among Roman elites, reflecting sophistication, wealth, and cultural literacy. Music, poetry, and theatrical performances in Greek style were incorporated into public festivals and private entertainment, creating a rich tapestry of cultural experiences that permeated both urban and rural life. This cultural diffusion reinforced the intellectual and aesthetic values of Greece, embedding Hellenic traditions into the social and personal lives of Romans. Economic integration also facilitated cultural exchange. Greek merchants, artisans, and craftsmen contributed to the production and distribution of goods, spreading artistic styles, technological knowledge, and cultural practices throughout the empire. Trade networks enabled the dissemination of Greek ideas, materials, and luxury items, reinforcing the presence of Hellenic culture within Roman society. The combination of economic and cultural integration ensured that Greek influence extended beyond intellectual and elite circles, permeating multiple layers of society and shaping the broader Mediterranean civilization. In conclusion, the cultural legacy and influence of Greece on Roman society was extensive, multifaceted, and enduring. Philosophy, literature, art, architecture, education, religion, social customs, military thought, and daily life all reflected the profound impact of Hellenic traditions. Rome's ability to adopt, adapt, and integrate Greek culture while maintaining political and military dominance created a vibrant and sophisticated society that celebrated intellectual achievement, aesthetic refinement, and civic engagement. The fusion of Greek and Roman elements not only preserved the rich heritage of Greece, but also enhanced the cultural, social, and intellectual foundations of the Roman Empire, leaving a legacy that continues to shape Western civilization to this day. The assimilation of Greece into the Roman Empire not only solidified Rome's territorial dominance, but also unleashed a profound wave of cultural enrichment that would define Roman civilization for centuries. Central to this process was the extensive influence of Greek philosophy, arts, and education, which provided a foundational framework for intellectual life, creative expression, and societal norms within the Roman world. While Rome imposed its governance and military structures, it simultaneously absorbed Greek wisdom, aesthetic principles, and pedagogical traditions, creating a fusion that allowed the empire to flourish culturally as well as politically. Greek intellectual and artistic contributions permeated all aspects of Roman life, from elite education and public discourse to urban aesthetics and personal cultivation. Philosophy was among the most significant areas of Greek influence. Roman thinkers and statesmen were drawn to the rigorous logical structures, ethical frameworks, and metaphysical explorations of Greek philosophical schools. Stoicism, Epicureanism, and Platonism provided guidance on personal conduct, civic responsibility, and the pursuit of virtue. Roman elites, including statesmen, generals, and scholars, often engaged Greek tutors to study rhetoric, ethics, and logic, blending philosophical thought with practical governance. Stoic principles, emphasizing self-discipline, rational decision-making, and moral integrity, became particularly influential, shaping the behavior of leaders and informing Roman legal and administrative frameworks. The integration of Greek philosophical thought reinforced the intellectual sophistication of Roman society, offering tools for navigating both personal and political challenges. Education, closely linked with philosophy, was transformed by Greek methods and curricula. Roman schooling incorporated Greek grammar, rhetoric, mathematics, and philosophy, providing students with a broad intellectual foundation. Tutors, often Greek-born, taught young Roman citizens to read, write, and speak with eloquence, fostering critical thinking, analytical reasoning, and persuasive communication. These skills were essential for participation in civic life, legal proceedings, and administrative duties, equipping future leaders with the knowledge and cultural literacy necessary to navigate the complexities of the empire. Greek pedagogical methods emphasized discipline, repetition, and intellectual rigor, ensuring that Roman education produced not only skilled bureaucrats, but also morally and culturally aware citizens. In the realm of arts, Greek contributions were transformative. Roman sculpture, painting, architecture, and decorative arts were heavily inspired by Hellenic techniques and aesthetics. Statues of gods, historical figures, and prominent citizens were crafted using Greek methods of proportion, realism, and expressive detail. Frescoes, mosaics, and architectural embellishments drew upon Greek motifs, mythological narratives, and stylistic conventions. Roman architects incorporated Greek orders, Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian into temples, public buildings, and private villas, combining Hellenic elegance with Roman engineering ingenuity. This synthesis resulted in a distinctive visual culture that celebrated Greek artistic excellence while adapting it to Roman functional and civic needs. Literature and drama were equally enriched by Greek influence. Roman writers studied Greek epics, tragedies, and comedies, modeling narrative structure, character development, and thematic exploration on classical precedents. The works of Homer, Sophocles, and Euripides provided inspiration for Roman poets, playwrights, and historians who adapted Greek stories to reflect Roman values, political themes, and historical events. Epic poetry, such as Virgil's Aeneid, combined Greek narrative techniques with Roman ideology, blending storytelling with national identity. The adaptation of Greek literary forms allowed Roman culture to maintain a connection with the intellectual achievements of the Mediterranean world while expressing its unique imperial vision. Public education, civic life, and intellectual culture were also shaped by Greek influence. Gymnasiums, lecture halls, and libraries became centers for intellectual and physical cultivation, reflecting Greek models of holistic education that combined body and mind. Civic festivals, theatrical performances, and public debates incorporated Greek traditions, creating venues for cultural expression, political discussion, and social cohesion. The integration of these practices enhanced community engagement, promoted intellectual development, and reinforced the shared values and collective identity of Roman citizens. Greek cultural practices were thus not confined to elite circles, but became embedded in the civic and social fabric of Roman urban life. Religion and ritual practices were another domain enriched by Greek contributions. Roman religious life adopted Hellenic deities, myths, and symbolic rituals, often renaming gods while preserving essential attributes and narratives. Temples, altars, and public ceremonies reflected Greek architectural styles and ceremonial customs, creating continuity between conquered territories and the cultural core of the empire. Religious syncretism reinforced social cohesion, provided a shared framework for public life, and symbolized the harmonious blending of Roman and Greek traditions. By incorporating Greek spiritual practices, Rome acknowledged the intellectual and cultural value of Hellenic society while strengthening imperial legitimacy and unity. The influence of Greek art and philosophy extended into Roman political culture and rhetoric. Roman leaders employed Greek rhetorical strategies, ethical arguments, and philosophical reasoning in public oratory, legal advocacy, and diplomatic negotiations. Greek models of debate, persuasion, and public discourse informed the conduct of assemblies, courts, and senatorial proceedings, shaping the methods by which ideas were presented, defended, and implemented. This intellectual inheritance enabled Romans to craft persuasive arguments, establish legal precedents, and navigate complex political environments, illustrating the practical integration of Greek thought into governance and public life. Economic and social factors also facilitated cultural transmission. Greek artisans, merchants, and educators migrated across the empire, spreading Hellenic techniques, knowledge, and tastes. Roman citizens and elites, eager to demonstrate cultural sophistication, patronized Greek artists, philosophers, and teachers, creating networks of cultural exchange. Trade routes, urban markets, and educational institutions became conduits for the dissemination of Greek ideas, artistic practices, and intellectual norms. The intersection of economic activity and cultural influence ensured that Greek contributions permeated multiple levels of Roman society. From elite households to public institutions, even military practice was indirectly affected by Greek influence. Roman generals and military scholars studied Greek tactics, fortifications, and historical campaigns, adapting lessons from Hellenistic warfare to the strategic and logistical demands of the Roman army. Concepts of combined arms, troop formations, and battlefield psychology informed Roman military doctrine, enhancing the effectiveness, adaptability, and resilience of the legions. Greek strategic thought complemented Roman discipline and engineering, contributing to the empire's enduring military success. In conclusion, Greek contributions to Roman philosophy, arts, and education were extensive, enduring, and transformative. By integrating Hellenic intellectual, artistic, and pedagogical traditions into Roman society, the empire enriched its cultural landscape, enhanced civic and military sophistication, and preserved a profound intellectual heritage. The fusion of Greek and Roman elements created a civilization that celebrated aesthetic refinement, critical thinking, and moral reasoning, establishing a foundation for the cultural, educational, and philosophical achievements of the Mediterranean world. The legacy of Greek influence within Rome exemplifies the capacity of cultural assimilation to shape identity, enrich societies, and leave a lasting imprint on history. The assimilation of Greek culture into the Roman Empire left an enduring legacy that transcended centuries, influencing not only the political, social, and intellectual life of Rome, but also the trajectory of Western civilization. While Roman governance, law, and military organization provided the structural backbone of the empire, it was the profound integration of Greek philosophy, arts, literature, education, and social customs that enriched its cultural, intellectual, and aesthetic fabric. This enduring Hellenic influence shaped civic life, elite culture, public institutions, and philosophical discourse, ensuring that the achievements of Greece continued to resonate long after the decline of the Roman Empire. Greek philosophy, with its emphasis on ethics, reason, and civic responsibility, profoundly influenced Roman thought and decision. Stoic principles, particularly the focus on virtue, self-discipline, and rational judgment, guided emperors, senators, and military leaders in both personal conduct and governance. Epicurean and Platonic ideas further contributed to intellectual debates, ethical frameworks, and the conceptualization of human happiness and civic duty. Philosophical schools in Roman cities preserved and disseminated Greek ideas, fostering dialogue, reflection, and critical thinking. By incorporating Greek intellectual traditions, Rome cultivated a sophisticated, literate, and ethically oriented, capable of leading the empire effectively while maintaining continuity with the intellectual heritage of the Mediterranean world. Education and pedagogy were equally transformed by Greek influence, creating systems that endured throughout the Roman period and beyond. Roman curricula, heavily influenced by Greek methods, emphasized grammar, rhetoric, philosophy, mathematics, and logic. Tutors, often Greek-born, instructed young Romans in critical thinking, persuasive communication, and moral reasoning, preparing them for public life, legal practice, and civic leadership. Schools, academies, and libraries became centers of learning and cultural preservation, maintaining Hellenic intellectual traditions while adapting them to Roman societal needs. The educational integration of Greek knowledge not only enhanced the administrative and intellectual capabilities of Roman citizens, but also created a lasting model for structured, comprehensive learning that would influence medieval and Renaissance educational frameworks. Artistic and architectural achievements further reflected the enduring Hellenic legacy. Roman sculpture, painting, mosaics, and architectural design incorporated Greek techniques, proportions, and aesthetic principles. Public buildings, temples, amphitheaters, and private villas combined Roman engineering with Greek elegance, creating visually stunning environments that reinforced cultural identity and social cohesion. Greek motifs, mythological narratives, and stylistic elements persisted throughout Roman visual culture, shaping aesthetic norms and inspiring successive generations of artists. This fusion of Roman practicality with Greek artistic sophistication created a durable visual language that influenced European art for centuries, contributing to the Renaissance, revival of classical forms and techniques. Literature and drama continued to draw from Greek precedents, ensuring the preservation and adaptation of classical narratives and literary forms. Roman poets, historians, and playwrights modeled their work on Greek epics, tragedies, and comedies, integrating themes, structures, and rhetorical devices into uniquely Roman contexts. This literary synthesis enabled Roman writers to express national identity, moral philosophy, and historical memory while maintaining continuity with Hellenic traditions. Greek influence on rhetoric and storytelling also extended into public discourse, legal advocacy, and political oratory, shaping the ways in which ideas were articulated, debated, and implemented across the empire. Religion and mythology were similarly enriched by Greek contributions. Roman pantheons, rituals, and spiritual practices integrated Hellenic deities, myths, and ceremonial customs, often adapting them to reflect Roman societal norms and imperial ideology. Temples, altars, and religious festivals preserved Greek architectural styles and symbolic practices, fostering a sense of continuity and cultural respect. This religious syncretism reinforced social cohesion, provided common cultural reference points, and symbolized the harmonious blending of Greek and Roman traditions. It also allowed the spiritual and symbolic heritage of Greece to endure within the broader imperial framework, influencing theological thought and ritual practices in subsequent periods of European history. Civic life and public institutions benefited from Greek models of social organization, debate, and communal participation. Forums, theaters, gymnasiums, and public libraries reflected Hellenic designs, providing venues for civic engagement, intellectual exchange, entertainment, and athletic activity. Greek-inspired public spaces facilitated communal interaction, social education, and cultural transmission, embedding Hellenic norms within the daily life of Roman citizens. The integration of Greek, civic, and cultural practices into Roman society reinforced shared identity, promoted social stability, and ensured that the intellectual and cultural achievements of Greece remained vibrant and influential. Economically, Greek artisans, merchants, and educators contributed to the diffusion of culture throughout the Roman Empire. Trade networks, urban markets, and artisan workshops facilitated the spread of Greek artistic techniques, literary works, educational materials, and philosophical ideas. This combination of economic and cultural exchange reinforced the pervasive presence of Greek influence across the empire, from elite households to urban centers and provincial towns. Greek contributions thus permeated multiple layers of Roman society, enhancing social cohesion, cultural sophistication, and the overall quality of life within the empire. Military and strategic thought also benefited from Greek intellectual traditions. Roman commanders studied Greek tactics, historical campaigns, and analytical frameworks, adapting Hellenistic knowledge to suit Roman operational requirements. Concepts such as battlefield formations, siege engineering, and combined arms coordination were informed by Greek precedents, enhancing the flexibility, effectiveness, and resilience of the Roman military. The integration of Greek strategic thought into Roman military doctrine exemplified the broader intellectual assimilation of Hellenic culture, demonstrating that Greek influence extended beyond philosophy and art. Real-world applications that shaped the longevity and success of the empire. The enduring legacy of Greek culture is evident not only in the Roman period, but also in the post-Roman world. During the Byzantine era, the Greek language, philosophy, and artistic traditions remained central to education, governance, and religious life. Renaissance humanists in Europe later rediscovered and celebrated Greek philosophy, literature, and artistic principles, drawing inspiration directly from the preserved Hellenic heritage that had been transmitted through Roman intermediaries. This continuity ensured that Greek cultural achievements, integrated and preserved by Rome, would continue to influence global civilization, shaping intellectual, artistic, and educational developments for millennia. In conclusion, the enduring legacy of Greek culture in the Roman Empire and beyond is a testament to the profound and lasting impact of Hellenic civilization on Western history, philosophy, arts, literature, education, civic life, religion, and military thought all bear the imprint of Greek influence, which was carefully preserved, adapted, and celebrated within Roman society. The fusion of Greek intellectual and artistic traditions with Roman political, administrative, and military structures created a vibrant, sophisticated, and enduring civilization. This cultural legacy not only enriched the Roman Empire, but also provided a foundation for the intellectual, artistic, and social development of Europe and the broader Mediterranean world for centuries to come, demonstrating the extraordinary capacity of cultural integration to shape human history.